YouTubers, here today with another drum modification video. This time around I have the Roland CR8000. There's a lot to go through here. I'll try to race through it as quickly as I can. We'll start with the kick drum. So let me just bring up a 4 on the floor for you to show you what I mean. Alright, so the kick drum is made up of 2 separate oscillators, which I have separated via this toggle switch here. So now you're able to select one or the other or both combined. Here you have a tune knob for each oscillator and a decay for oscillator 1. So here's the tune. Okay, second one. This is the second oscillator. And you can actually turn this into a tom if you really want to go up high. Okay, now back to first oscillator and the decay. So I'll bring it all the way to minimum decay. And now let's dial in some more. There's our 808-ish kick. And now if we bring in both oscillators, we can tune them separately to different pitches and get a really harmonically rich sounding thumpy kick drum. Really nice. All right, moving on, we have the snare portion. So the snare and the rimshot share the same output, so that's why I'm not able to separate the two. So same thing here, we have 2 oscillators for the body of the snare. They are selectable via this toggle switch, one or the other or both combined. 2 tune knobs. Move over to the other one. The other one's range is quite higher. So it's quite thin on its own, but when you bring them both in together, it sounds really nice. I will have a white noise decay here so that you can dial back some of the decay to get an even shorter sounding snare. Here is the Snappy control. So that's kind of what it sounds like stock, not very great. And then we'll bring in the Snappy control, which basically opens up the high end. Now combined with our kick. Moving a lot of air. All right, moving over to the toms now. Let's isolate those for you. So these are our 2 tunable switches for each tom, the low and the high. I have a pink noise defeat, which is on right now. Stock, they add pink noise to the tail of the toms. I prefer it off. This is on, this is off. Okay, these knobs here allow us to voice swap between the toms and the congas. These knobs here are tune for each conga, the high, medium, and low. And you'll notice that if I play the toms and I flick these switches, they now are reassigned to the congas, which are tunable via these. So the reason that I've done this is because I wanted to open up programmability for some of the voices on this drum machine that are not manually programmable. They left some of them out actually in manual mode. The rimshot, the clave, and the high conga cannot be programmed in user mode on this machine. So what I did was I rewired things internally so that now you can actually program in either a conga or a tom sound and simply swap between the two by flipping these toggle switches. I found that whenever I'm using congas, I don't really use toms and vice versa. So those voices made the best sense to swap. And also now I've opened up some voice assignments so that I can now program the rimshot, which I have on the original low conga trigger, and the clave, which is now on the mid-conga trigger. Finally, the high conga, which was originally not programmable, I have reassigned to share with the open hi-hat trigger. And this switch here toggles between them. So whenever I'm programming in a open hi-hat, by toggling this switch, it swaps between those two voices. All right, moving on now to the cowbell. Again, you'll hear the clave as well because it shares an output. For the clave, I have a bandpass filter. These two knobs here will represent the tune for each oscillator. The cowbell's made up of two oscillators, and I haven't wired them in yet, but these will be able to control the individual pitches of the cowbell. I found that when you mess with one or the other, it completely changes the sound of the cowbell. The way I have them tuned now is exactly matching the frequencies of the 808 cowbell. So that's why it sounds identical to it. Now moving on to the hi-hats. I'm going to play the closed hat. So here we have a closed hat decay. This is fully open. We'll close it up. All the way to nothing. Open hi-hat. Again, fully open, and we'll close it up. Combined. And a hi-hat filter. Okay, moving along, we have the cymbal. Cymbal filter. And decay. So this is decay fully open. And closing it up. So you can close it up almost to the minimum, and it becomes a great substitute as a hi-hat. So good range there. Finally, we have modifications for the hand clap. So here we have a bandpass filter for the hand clap. Here we have the hand clap offset. So this is at the minimum. You can almost think of it as a decay. I sort of like it right around here. And we have a snappy control. So this allows us to dial in the amount of high end. Again, I kind of like it right there. And finally, we have a reverb defeat. A great sound depending on what you're after. Sometimes I prefer a much drier sound, and that can be achieved simply by flipping the switch. All right, so that is my Roland CR 8000 mod.